Good afternoon, friends, and thank you, Balaji, for this very interesting introduction. Thank you, Rekha, for organizing this very important event in a very unusual times. Thank you, Sanjay, the president of AIMA, and my dear friend Mohandas Pai, who is also being one of the past president as well as working towards making AIMA better. So thank you all of you for bringing in this, and thank you, Vivek Daji, for being part of this very important session and program. Actually, as has been, we just watched a very interesting video. And those of you who have not yet visited Kana, I would urge them to go there, which is very near Hyderabad, and to experience for yourself, not just what you can see your own self from there when you visit there, but also something which has been created there. And that's the vision of our spiritual leader, Daji. So I'm very happy that he's here today to guide and to talk to all of you, many of you whom I cannot see today. But when I come there for your conventions, I have been meeting you for a long time. So therefore, it's for me, it's a reunion with my old friends. So thank you very much for being here. Now, Daji is one of right person to address a challenging situation like this, because many of you have known him as a spiritual master, which he is. But in his previous life, and of course, for a spiritual leader, you to say spiritual life means some going back to probably many centuries. But in his present life, but in other, before he started his spiritual journey or while he was pursuing spiritual journey, he was a very successful entrepreneur. He was working in US in pharma industry and actually created a very big enterprise, which we should really be proud of. And a person normally, when he builds up such a large enterprise, his next aim is to keep building more and more of that. But he said, let me not give only a formulation, a medicine, in a form of a bottle or a tablet or a liquid or some other more form that are injectables. Let me give a little better medicine to the people. Let me give a medicine which can actually not just cure people, but put them on the right path so they will never be able to suffer again in their lives. And that is why he chose to be moving from this part of making money into building lives for the people. And that is how he has moved into this new path. And I'm very happy that we'll be able to talk to him, and we'll be able to also, all of us will be able to talk to him. I will also going to request him that before we end this program, after whatever is the scheduled time, I will also request him to give this glimpse of what this meditation really means, what this heartfulness really means, and if you can agree to give a sort of a seating that you call it to all the people here in a group, so that they will also experience for a brief period the happiness that comes with meditation. So I think I will request you to do that. But while we go into a very interesting conversation that will start soon, I would request Daji to please give his views on what he thinks in the present situation, maybe a brief period so that we can then start a conversation. And then, of course, as Balaji has said, as well as Rekha said earlier, you can put your questions so that, if possible, we'll try to answer the question. But I think the best question to answer is not Daji to you, but to you, to yourself. If you have a question, that's a good beginning. And if you find an answer, that's a beginning of a good journey. So I think the questions will be answered definitely by Daji today. But I think the best way to answer questions is to pose question to yourself and then start answering yourself. So I think I would request Daji to please make some brief introductory remarks.
Namaste, Sureshji. Our dear Sherpa, India Sherpa to G7 and G20, President AIMA, Mr. Balaji, and dear Rekhaji. Thank you for inviting Heartfulness. Heartfulness is all about the heart. Great people like Swami Vivekananda, their life reflects lives of service. Take Krishnamurti, he says, bring about choiceless awareness. These are the various solutions offered by all great people from all times. If you go back further, Lord Buddha, he says, develop mindful awareness. Sage Patanjali says, be the witness. Gita, Lord Krishna talks of, be like lotus. However dirty your pond may be, you will still remain unaffected. Now, having understood or grasped a little bit about our philosophies, that arriving at such a state, one can or one is able to combat any situation in life. So, to run a world, to run a country, to run a state, to run a community, to run a family, or to run one's own individual self in the right direction requires able mind. Imaginations go everywhere. It's necessary. Without imagination, human being will not be called human being. But through these infinite possibilities of imaginations, our mind filters out many things. And through this filtration, we pick what is right and what is wrong. In fact, the first step of being known as human being is to recognize what is good, what is bad, what is profitable, what is not profitable. And then as we advance at consciousness level, to figure out what is the cause and what is the effect. For example, pandemic of today. What caused it? We all seen the effect. How to avoid it in the future? Now, there are many theories that it was man-made or it was accidental from animal to human level, where non-vegetarianism prevails. Such possibilities of various sorts of ailments come about. Some are curable, some are not curable. Today's disease is almost ready to wipe out the humanity. We have to rush, find the vaccine. Unless that happens, we will always remain restless. And how to find it? It's in the hands of scientists. What do we do from our side to increase our immunity? How to increase our immunity? Two things: physical and mental exercise, and most importantly, take those kinds of foods that can help us improve our immunity, especially raw vegetables and fresh fruit juices. Pranayam also helps a lot. Introspection. How is it going to happen when my mind is going here and there all the time? What is, the Sureshji, the modern disease today I find is the mind is always busy going outside, always busy running here and there. It rarely finds a pauseful moments where it will go inward. You think of any problem today from your life. We all have our own unique problems. Find out the worst one that you can imagine, that you managed to create it yourself, or for your family. How did you end up in that situation? When we reflect back, it gives some indication that because of this situation, because of this, and this, I created this complexity in my life. Now, imagine the positive situation where you were so successful, where you felt happy about doing something. And when you made the decision to do the rightful thing, what happened? What went through your mind that you came to that conclusion that I should do this? In both scenarios, you will see that heart had a lot to do with it. You were able to make the rightful decision because you must have referred it to your heart, you must have followed the voice of your heart. It's precisely when we override the voice of the heart that we fail and invite miseries in life. Mr. Balaji just shared with us Many questions that he put, that maybe, maybe not, and resolute no to many questions that, oh, I wish I could have done that, but no, I could not do it. All these maybe and no's. How to vaccinate our mind? How to make our mind extremely discriminative, extremely sensitive, so that we can differentiate discrimination only to differentiate what is right and wrong, what can be the causal thing, and what is the effect of that cause, what we are doing today or what we are going through. Is it the effect of something, or that am I causing something new in this life? So all these answers, they come through very easily when we take a pause, go inward, even for a few minutes. Answer may not be available right then and there, but it will unfold in its own way within a day or two or a week. Answers will come, 100%. And my personal experience shows that years of me dealing with, I have led as normal a life as you all have led. A family life, business world. I was a student, and now in a different capacity. But in all these facets, being a student, being a family man, or be yourself in a business world, everywhere you are facing unknown. The very next minute, next moment is unknown to us what will transpire next. But the best decisions are possible through all these imagination, infinite imaginations. You filter them out with your wisdom, which we have gathered from our past. And through meditation, when we reach a certain level of superconsciousness where the intuition triggers certain impulses in the heart in the form of feelings and say, yes, the biggest or the loudest voice that can come is, don't do this. Have you noticed? If you have to say, my name is so and so, but instead, if you say, my name is Suresh Prabhu, if I introduce myself, then I'll have to think many times that why are you falsifying yourself as Suresh Prabhu? My heart will start beating heavier moment I speak a lie. Moment I try to make a wrong decision, my vagal nervous system will say, no. My heart will start beating faster, heavier, and entire whole system will become heavy. Per contra, when I make a right decision, I may not get such signals because it is natural thing to do the right thing. Let me make this point also very clear, how heart helps in making a rightful decision. When my eyes are able to see well, I see well, this, I'm seeing Mr. Prabhu. When I'm not able to see the screen properly, then I'll get a signal. Kamlesh, you are not seeing the screen properly. Then I ask somebody, is this screen, something wrong with the screen? No, sir. Then I have to wonder, oh, my eyes are going bad. Or hearing. But when everything are happening in a normal way, when I'm able to see things properly, hear properly, my heart doesn't give any signal that you are doing this correctly, your health is good. It's only when the health is compromised that we get a signal that something is wrong. Similarly, at a mental level or at emotional level, when something is wrong or about to go wrong, we get premonition, precognition, intuition that don't do this. Even simple things like, I shouldn't say simple thing, for example, choosing a girl for your marriage or a husband for marriage. How will you choose? The heart will tell you. But if the heart is misguided with so many rainbow colors in your heart, oh, I'd like to have this, at the same time I'd like to have that, at the same time I'd like to have this, then you are, despite of correct thinking, despite of wisdom, despite of right understanding, you are creating a mess for your life. Trying to fulfill unnecessary desires that can complicate your life, where instead of filtering a particular imagination into making a reality, we create more complexities thus. So simplification is the goal, I would say. Simplification of the mind, thoughts, imagination, and purification of our intentions. All this purification and simplification are very easy to achieve when we adopt yogic processes. Heartfulness offers these processes. It's not enough that you meditate. Meditate gives you a lot of energy, a lot of power. You must have read that in yogic literature, that meditation gives you power. But what is the use of this power? For example, you have a sports car, 600 HP, but it is stuck in the mud. What will this 600 HP sports vehicle do on a muddy road? Road has to be cleaned up. So it has to be both. Road has to be clean, the engine has to be superpower. Our human mind also has to be like that. It creates its own paths. Path has to be cleared before we proceed. At the same time, it must have so much of impetus, power, energy to do what is right at any cost. If our principles are worth living for the same principles, I think it is worth dying for. And when we have such clarity of thoughts, conviction comes, and through conviction, courage will come. And because of this courage, I think our goal comes closer and closer to us. When a person gets into depression or anxiety, how will vaccination help? Mental vaccination will not help at that time. You say, oh, I'm going to meditate and get rid of this depression and anxiety. But if you were doing this already, then the chances of succumbing to depression and anxiety would be almost zero. So vaccination is needed during this pandemic at a physical health level, at a mental and emotional level also. So this brief introduction to heartfulness and what is all possible through its practices, and already as Mr. Prabhu has said that all these services are backed by more than 100,000 volunteers throughout the globe, 14,000 trainers, ever ready to help whoever would like to meditate, learn meditation, how to simplify and purify the system at no cost. See, one of my Guruji, when I was just beginning this spiritual journey in 1976, and sometime in 77, I read an episode of one European coming to him and asking, hey, Mr. So-and-so, how much do you charge for this meditation? The Babuji, my Guruji, was very, very simple man. He said, God is not for sale. And later on, he made a statement that if God was for sale, how much would you pay? And if you could pay, why do you need God? So based on that philosophy, and he says our ancient traditions, you cannot charge anything for Brahma Vidya. Moment you start, then this yogi becomes udyogi. It becomes a business affair. And it's not worth pursuing. To identify a right guide, one of the symptom, one of the sign, one of the signature of a proper guide or a proper path is only this. Is he selfish? Is he going after money? If he is going after money, how is he going to serve you? He is actually serving himself or herself. Such guides, they come our way. They don't say anything. Like Sureshji just now mentioned that you'll have a lot of questions. And best answer that come is from within your heart. I need not even give a verbal answer. Let us say when there are 100,000 people in front of us, and everyone has their own unique problem, and based on the unique problem, there are different questions. How to individually answer those questions? Not possible. But when I sit and meditate and connect myself with all these 100,000 people, and through changing of this consciousness, if I'm able to give answer in that silence and each individual feels that they have been answered, isn't this a beautiful thing? I would like to try this experiment today with you. This meditation is quite unique. It's not like any other meditation so far been taught in books and literature. It has this special principle of pranahuti. What is pranahuti? Let me brief you up a little bit on that. Just as our body needs nourishment, just as our mind needs nourishment, which we acquire through right food, mind acquires through education, contemplation. But we never pay attention to what can enrich my soul, my Atman, my prana. So, in order to enrich that soul, there is a reference in Upanishads also. It's called pranasya pranaha, one that feeds the prana. And this flow of transmission or energy is available. Fortunately, this tradition has created many spiritual giants who remain behind the scene and continue working. In order to experience this pranahuti, we'll run this experiment today and see how you all feel energized, how you all feel different after just few minutes of meditation. You are wherever you are, I am wherever I am, and I will be transmitting to you this pranahuti. And with God's grace, I hope you will be able to feel that. Also, if you like to resolve any questions or some complex situation that you may have had, you can present it to your heart and say, okay, let me see what answer comes up. But we should not meditate on the problem. Have the problem in the beginning in your mind and let go of it. You meditate. The process of meditation is very simple. I'll tell you how to do it, and I'll be transmitting you from here. Process of meditation is very simple. Close your eyes, be relaxed, and have your focus towards the heart in a very gentle way. And think that there is a presence of divine light in my heart, which is the source of everything, and it's attracting my attention inward. I repeat, think of the presence of this source of divine light, which is present in my heart, attracting my attention inward. That's all. If thoughts may come, let them come. Just simply remind yourself that you're meditating, and it will take you into a different space altogether. And this is all because of transmission. See? You may have meditated, you may not have meditated perhaps, but when we meditate with transmission, immediately your consciousness shifts. We have done a lot of experiments also, like 100 people meditating without transmission, without this pranahuti, and 100 with and without. See, the comparison. And every time we find this fascinating results which are measurable, but many levels of consciousness which we cannot measure on a scientific gadget. Anyway, sir, I'm ready for your questions, sir.
No, actually, thank you for this very interesting guidance as well as clearing the doubts of so many people. And as you said, it's a very necessary in life to pause That I think is one of the most important thing is if you don't pause, then you will not know the cause why you are here actually. If you don't pause, you will not know. But looks like that we are ignoring this necessity of pausing for some time, for too long. That's why nature has forced this pause on us. It looks like that whole world is forced to pause at the same time, and they cannot ignore it. They cannot no longer gloss over it. So if you really, I'm just thinking after listening to you, like the problem of, we know the heart, what the problem is. The heart knows the solution. Heart knows whether you are doing truth or you are doing giving a lie. The heart knows everything. And heart stores all that together and it reacts in a particular way, it becomes heavy or it remains normal. So do you think if you take world as a community, because everybody is pausing in the world, that a heart of the world is now giving a signal that I am becoming heavier because there is something wrong going in the world. The world as a whole is under some sort of a threat. And if you look at the world may be somebody, all these individuals of the world, 7.6 billion people, would be doing something. One may be doing business, somebody doing politics, somebody doing social work, somebody may be just running a household, all are important functions. But each one of them contribute to this world. And therefore, unless you want to correct the heart of the world, how can you correct it without correcting individual hearts? Because if individual heart is not doing a right job, the collective heart of the world is suffering. So what you are really guiding us is a necessity of individuals going back into their own self, introspect, and that's the title of the session. How do you introspect for a better prospect? Obviously today, everybody is looking for how my GDP will grow better, my corporate profits will go better. Balaji is saying how may I get more consumers from, or rather more people joining my network. So all of them are worrying about that. And of course, political party, how can I enroll more members? Everybody is thinking like that. But in doing all that, how do you make sure that all of this will go right if my heart goes right? Because individual heart will collectively make the collective heart to grow well. So Daji, I am just asking you a very simple, probably a simplified one, but you can even make it in a proper perspective, is can individual hearts doing their job properly can make the collective heart of the world tick in the right manner?
Well, the answer lies in your question itself. No, so there is affirmative yes on that, that yes, individual heart can make the influence on a cosmic heart or a cosmic consciousness. It is perfectly correct, sir. You see, as an individual, can I influence even my most beloved spouse or my most beloved children and grandchildren? Can I influence them with my mind, with my thoughts, with my ideologies, my philosophies? I cannot. You try to push any ideology to anyone, it is going to fall flat. Then what is the solution? Solution is only in this. When we talk of world peace, how can there be world peace unless large population of this planet is at peace, its member is at peace? So if I have to be in tune with cosmic consciousness, I have to be at individual level, be in tune within myself, with myself, with my heart, with my principles, with my ideals. And what makes a difference, earlier I did mention about principles we live by and principles worth dying for. And what is the difference between an ordinary leader and a great leader? Those who are pathfinders, people like Steve Jobs, for example, or Ratan Tata. How do they become legendary role models? You see, it's not successful CEO, but some sort of a legendary gift to the world. That yes, you become like this, you live your life like that, and you can still be successful in your business world. So yes, leading this life of spirituality gives the guidance, overall guidance, not only in spirituality, but also in bhautik or material life, in telling us, please do this and please don't do this. This guidance keeps coming all the time, all the time. And this individual consciousness, as it shifts, and when it reaches the tipping point or the critical mass or what they call egregore, then only then the cosmic consciousness will change. And as they say, transcendental meditation gentleman, Mahesh Yogi, he used to say only if 10% of people start meditation and achieve a certain level of consciousness, the future of this planet will change. Definitely it will change. And you can see even one person or a two-person meditating in a family, the whole family changes. And not only the effect is in the present. Let us say I meditate today well, but this meditation effect will genetically also go down to my children and grandchildren, whom I may not see in the future. But the effect will be there. Because such things like consciousness, things like love, they're eternal. They're beyond space and time. See? Moment you talk about your grandfather, it's, oh, my grandfather was like this. He used to go to temple and he used to worship this. And immediately your consciousness changes and somehow it inches towards touching your grandfather who is no more. So it changes the environment. And one feels that such a joyful condition inside when you enter into the consciousness of your loved ones.
Okay. So Daji, actually, Balaji will, of course, must be collecting questions coming from different quarters and he will ask those questions. So let me
Okay.
hand over to him. Before that, I just want to, because this is actually, as I said in the beginning, a very important management convention that takes place every year. It's a flagship event of AIMA. And people come here and this organization essentially guides people how to manage the businesses. Somebody like me in politics, I'll be interested to know how do I manage politics. Somebody is interested in, of course, a very ordinary housewife, she'll say, how do I manage a complex household, which is far more difficult to manage than a business or actually a politics, because household management is the most important thing to do. But if I can learn something from this very, very interesting discourse that you have just provided to us, is that managing seems to be the important function of the AIMA. But if you want to manage anything, whether it's business, household, politics, global governance, anything, managing your heart is so important. If you manage your heart correctly, you can manage the rest of the world. Is this what is a message that we can get?
Perfect, sir. Perfect. I can't agree more than that. See, and put it plainly and simply, when we read Gita, for example, and certain Mahavakyas that we listen, yoga karmasu kausalam. I mean, it covers everything. Be you a house lady, be you a maid, be you a factory worker, or be you a CEO of a company or a salesperson. It doesn't matter. Moment I close my eyes, I get guidance from within, what to do next and what not to do next. It has always happened to me. Most of my business ideas that came, this product or that product, why not this, why this, everything came during the meditation. Let me share with you something that happens to me regularly, that used to happen rather, and some of you might be facing it today. Often in the middle of night, you wake up. Why do you wake up? Often you remember things that you didn't do. Something that woke you up because, oh, I forgot to do this. Or I should have done that and I didn't do it. Especially in my case, I used to get up like that. Suppose I had to launch a particular product, and it's inching in my mind that yes, I should finish this, I should finish that, and even though I'm sleeping so well, all of a sudden this unfinished work will be highlighted even in my subconscious. So when we meditate, all these unfinished things I could have done but chose not to, things that I could have done but I postponed. And those things are very serious. Lord Krishna talks to Arjuna and he says, Karma nyevadhikaraste, right? And he says every action has its consequences. Karma ends up always with karma phalas. Maybe favorable, maybe may not be favorable. Okay. But when we dive deeper into this karma theory, what makes you feel terrible? The worst consequences are always not out of karma, but akarma. Something that I could have done when I had the time, when I had the opportunity, I missed it. Those impressions, those samskaras, those karma phalas are terrible to cure. It will haunt all your life. I still remember. You see, why did I become a pharmacist? Because I couldn't get an admission into a medicine. See? I lost it by 1 mark. And at that time, I keep wondering if I had only studied a little bit more, if I should not have paid so much of attention to cricket or to movies. At that time, you remember, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So, when we have an opportunity of doing something, just do it. Imaginations will surround us all the time, which is good. Without imagination, humanity will be lost. Without dreams, humanity will be lost. But a wiser person will filter those imaginations, filter those dreams, and apply it to those what is practical. Meditation, time and again, protects our energy, preserves our energy, because where I had to do 10 different things, but before I end up doing, in my mind, I have gone through those 10 things and maybe filtered out 8 of them or 9 of them and came to 1 or 2. So meditation is a brilliant tool in filtering unnecessary experiments.
So thank you very much. I think this is the guidance for everybody. I think Balaji, I will just request you to please collect. If there are any audiences wants to ask some questions, you can just collect it. And of course, you are a man of idea, and also because you have an idea, but also you are also collect. So you'll transmit the ideas because of Vodafone. So please take those ideas and take you to pose those questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prabhu. I'll take a cue from there. There are 2 very important questions which have come from the audience, Daji. I'll ask you both and then you can kindly respond. One is, how does one develop intuition? Because you have indicated that intuition helps. And second, does meditation with motive help or hinder?
Okay. So we take up the first one, how to develop intuition. Okay. For that, we have to understand what meditation is. Meditation, what do we do in meditation? As I just shared, we think of an idea of something, and the best idea that divine light is present in my heart. That's all, right? We start with this positive affirmation that with this thought that divine light is present. Now, if the meditation technique, and if you do receive this pranahuti, it will convert this thought process into feelings. You start feeling the presence. Okay. Now, when you feel the presence, is it enough? Talking about money, for example, and actually having money, it's like that, see? But having money, let us say you have 10 crores today, and you lose all that one day. That 10 crore becomes a curse. You wish you didn't have it, because you had seen the pleasures and all the availability because of that 10 crores and the pride that you get. It suddenly goes off. Likewise, these feelings also, when I say I believe in God, and some people go to some yatras or some tirtha and they feel that joyful state when they are in a state of pause. And then they lose it. Through meditation, when we repeatedly meditate, this feeling continues. But feeling is not enough either. I felt this transmission or pranahuti, I felt state of samadhi, or I felt a superconscious state once or twice in my life. It's not good enough. What do I become through the feelings? Feelings must inspire me further to become something, someone. And now this becoming is more important. For example, yesterday we had this session on world peace along with United Nations. We partner with them and we are talking on debating on world peace. But what is the ultimate outcome of peace? What do you do with peace? Okay. Again, I like to quote Gita again and again, because only when you have peace that you can enjoy your joyful state or your happiness. If you don't have peace, how are you going to be happy and joyful? So peace is a prerequisite. Instead of feeling peace, for example, if I can become peace, becoming is more important. See? Instead of loving, if I become love, then this exercise of loving it becomes redundant. I become love in the process. Now, when I meditate and let us say I become so proud that there is no one better than me, or I'm a perfect CEO. I produced 200 million a year for myself, my family, and the investors. It's a pride thing, see? Arrogance kicks in. Nobody is better than me. When I also meditate with certain amount of arrogance that I'm serving God, that day my meditation will not be as great and my experience will be compromised. Per contra, when I become very humble and I offer myself, as they say, saranagati to God, my God, let thy will be done. I surrender to you. When I have this attitude and I meditate, that experience will be different. So now my focus is shifting, you see, from thinking to the presence of God to the feeling. Feeling is okay, but if I can become something out of all this. And a time comes, Balaji, in life that you get tired of many blissful states. You get tired of bliss also. It becomes a burden on you. See? And when you say, okay, my God, thank you for all this bliss, Satchitanand is great, but I like to renunciate even the bliss. Then you have come to a real state of freedom that you don't even care for bliss. That's a true renunciation. People renunciate the house, wife, when they get fed up of it, actually. And they say, I'm searching God. God, it's not God who is lost. It's you, bloody, you are lost. See? God is not to be sought for. He's always there. It's you who are lost. See? So intuition, it becomes automatic when we, on its own, in a very natural way, touch or reach out to a certain level of consciousness. And what are all these spiritual practices for? Only for one thing, to play with consciousness. You heard of Swami Vivekananda, right? And he says the purpose of any spiritual practice is only simple one. He says we have a very thin layer of consciousness with which we work. It's a very thin layer, above which there is a giant ocean of superconsciousness, and below which also there is a giant ocean of subconsciousness, and you are sandwiched between that. And you are only a film of consciousness, very thin one. Through meditation practices, you are able to expand this thin layer and allow it to touch the superconsciousness so that you can gather those intuitions in a very natural way. See, the second question was on the motive. Should we have motive during meditation? What motive? As long as we have this thirst that, my God, I'd like to experience your presence, it's enough. That very desire will find its own way next. See? In its natural way, it will take us to the next stage. And when we are there, the new level of craving will start, and it will take us to another level. When we are there, again the craving will be different. Like we all talk of peace. When we are in a Hridaya Chakra, for example, the level of peace is some ordinary peace, worldly peace. When we are at Atma Chakra, it's different. When we are at Agya Chakra, or when we are passed through this lotus, Sahasradal Kamal, all grants you peace and bliss and joyful state, but the degree and intensity and the spectrum of it will change. See, motive, very selfless motive. See? God, I like to feel your presence, however you are. See, and I must have that open approach. You see, a lot of Maharashtrians, they tell me, I want to experience Lord Ganesha in my heart. I say, okay, let's pray. God may decide how to present himself. What if he comes in the form of Lord Christ or Lord Buddha or Krishna? It's his choice. Or no form, no nothing at all. That's also his choice. But when we put conditions that my meditation will last only 30 minutes, or my meditation must not have any thoughts, or I must be able to get intuitions, or I must be able to see this God or that God. No. In meditation, I cannot put any conditions. I can have a motive, but not conditions.
Thank you so much, Daji. That was very, very enlightening. Someone from our Hyderabad Management Association is asking, are there any rules and regulations that we have to follow to visit your center in Telangana for a few days? This is Mr. Nagesh asking this question.
Your willingness, sir. Nothing else is required. And Mr. Balaji, we have one very, very beautiful, very lovely trainer with Vodafone, and she is fast rising on your management level. Let me hear Akshayita Saxena.
I will remember that name, sir.
Please remember the name. And because she is one of the finest trainer we have in heartfulness.
Fantastic, sir. I think we will definitely benefit from her presence itself.
Thank you.
One question to Mr. Prabhu before we try and close this session, which is very interesting, but time is against our progressing further. Mr. Prabhu, have you experienced India's stature change with all the focus on yoga, meditation in the last few years that we have been making?
Actually, see, this is India's gift to the whole world. As to how do you actually live life healthier, better, happier? Is this what we have provided the gift to the world? Now, how world looks at it, very interesting. In fact, I've been traveling to all parts of the world. I've been to 144 countries. The respect for India has certainly gone up. And this is not that India was not known for this, as Taji just mentioned about Swami Vivekananda. Way back in Chicago, when he went there, the people didn't expect, because that time the means of communications were not as strong as they are today. But when he spoke, people understood a message that he was trying to convey. And what is more important is the world, I'm not saying all parts of the world, but good part of the world, is extremely materialistic. They feel that the knowledge has to be covered by intellectual property rights. The knowledge cannot be just imparted without somebody paying for it. No free lunches. And when you say no free lunches, the presumption is not that breakfast and dinners are free. I mean, they will say all meals are not free. Everything you have to pay for it. And in that context, India is offering this knowledge to whole world as a public good. Please come, enjoy, and be happy. That's the message we are giving to the world. So obviously, meditation, yoga, all put together, has certainly enhanced the image of India throughout the world. And of course, I thank Prime Minister Modi for making this International Yoga Day, which is celebrated in all parts of the world, in most of the countries of the world. In fact, last year I was in France for the G7 meeting, and the embassy had organized a program. So they said, can you come and be the chief guest? On a huge ground. And most of the people were all the French population, local people. And the way they were enjoying it is amazing. Or if you go to Kana, and of course, heartfulness is a movement which also touches the hearts of millions of people, at least lakhs of people, of almost many nationalities. So that shows the power of a thought of India, the thought which emanated from India, but we never thought that it is my thought. It is thought born in my mind, but for the good of the whole world. And that's India. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Daji, I think one last question before we end this session. Your message for the youth, they are full of energy and ideas. At the same time, you keep hearing of instances of depression, suicides, violence. What can we as society do to create healthy and positive environment for them to channelize their energy in positive direction?
Well, I have interacted with so many youth today and over the ages, last few years. The mind or the mental trend has suddenly changed. Their focus is no longer inward. They're always outward, searching for things outside. Through social network, through that work. I mean, they're always busy outward. See? They're not able to face themselves as they are. Like a beautiful woman keeps looking at the mirror again and again. It's, vanity. When you're not so beautiful, even mirror looks ugly. And you stop looking at the mirror. Youth today are like that. They are not looking at themselves anymore. How many times you're going to look at your fault lines? It's not their fault. somewhere along, we parents have gone wrong. You see, parents today are busier. So many things they are doing. Before this pandemic, both husband and wife outside. Children are left to nannies. And this will have epigenetic effect on their mind and heart, their behavior, their attitudes. So I would say invest while you are youth, and when you are ready for a family, don't neglect your children. And prepare yourself as a couple, inviting a noble soul in your family. Prepare yourself, because at the moment of conception, you may not be that ready and becoming sattvic at that moment. You will be only tamasic. And what can a tamasic couple mating like two bulls, what kind of soul will they attract? So go inward, become spiritual, meditate. Becoming spiritual does not mean you leave your house and leave your all joys of life. No, enjoy more and more. But go inward, meditate, and pay attention to the regularity of your life. See? Be it your sports, be regular, cooking regular, eating regular. Make it very, predictable lifestyle. That will be nice.
Thank you so much, Daji. Absolutely amazing session. I'm sure everyone that I speak for who attended this session would be richer for the experience, and the need for mindfulness, purposefulness, and heartfulness, which is absolutely even more the order of the day today. I would really like to thank you, Daji, for sharing these simple principles of living a life which is enriched and fulfilling and hence more purposeful. I'm sure that many of us today would carry these life-enhancing techniques and apply them in our own lives to make it more fulfilling for ourselves and the people around us. Your presence, Daji, around us has absolutely added a different dimension to this convention, and we look forward to having you with us in AIMA again in the future. Thank you, Daji.
Thank you.
And Suresh Prabhu, sir, our sincere thanks for the very probing and incisive and interesting questions you asked, because that set the tone for this conversation becoming useful to all the participants and the delegates. You have truly been a go-getter in every sphere and public life that you have ever participated in. And at the same time, today we found a new dimension. In fact, it started with you proposing Daji in the first place for us to have as a concluding session. And so many thanks for gracing our AIMA platform once again. You're almost part of our family, and we look forward to your love and support in the future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, not only do we come to the last and final session closure of AIMA's 47th National Management Council, but also convention, but also the end of this year's sessions. And my task would be incomplete if I did not specifically thank a few individuals. One, Mr. Sanjay Kirloskar, the president of AIMA, for his tireless leadership of AIMA during this very difficult